You are welcome to the second lecture under ENG 407. Before now, we have looked at language and the properties of the human language. In this second lecture, we are looking at the functions of language. From the definition we had as given by Sapir 1921, it is established there that language is used by humans to express their thoughts, ideas, and emotions. Therefore, language serves as a powerful tool for individuals to express their thoughts, ideas, and emotions. So when we look at the parameters that make up the use of language, maybe in the form of words, gestures, and intonation, either falling or rising, we usually convey our innermost feelings, what is going on in our mind that people cannot see. We convey them to the individuals around us or those we relate with and share those with them. We make known our perspectives and communicate our desires concerning how we feel, what's going on in our mind that others cannot readily see. So through language, we can articulate complex issues, we can relate with one another to establish meaningful conversations, and intellectual and emotional discussions are made possible through the use of language. Therefore, whether we are happy, we are sad, we are angry, we are in love, we can make all these known to those who are around us through the use of language. Another thing language does for humanity is facilitation of social interaction and cohesion. The moment two, three, four, and so on people gather together to do one thing or the other, what is expected to come up during their interaction is disagreement. But to maintain or find a solution to the disagreement, language is very important. It's going to be helpful in achieving social interaction and cohesion. Where people have disagreements, they can come and talk over such disagreements, and eventually that will foster cooperation, unity, and a sense of belonging. So through language, people can engage in conversations, establish relationships, and develop shared understandings. So it is in the process of relating with one another using language that relationship will be strengthened. It is through language that people can say this is my friend, some will say my pen friend, this will say this is I want to visit this person, I'm going to the house of that person. In many cases they will not go to one another sitting down looking at one another in the face. What do? They relate with one another using language, expressing what is going on in individuals' mind, making individuals to respond to what they have heard. So language facilitates the exchange of information, ideas, and cultural practices. And based on that, social bonds and cohesion are strengthened. People can form communities, can form societies, can form groups through the instrumentality of language. Remove language from the group will not stand. There will be misunderstanding. People will find it difficult to go along with one another. Another function that language performs is preservation and transmission of cultural heritage. As we mentioned during our discussion on the properties of the human language, we established that language and culture work together, are interconnected. So if there's any culture that will continue to exist, that culture will continue to exist if there is a language of that culture in existence. When people use a particular language, they use the language to sustain the culture of that language. In fact, language is part of culture, and any culture that will be preserved must have a language of its own. Any culture that will be transferred from one generation to another will need to have its own language. Failure to sustain the language of a particular group of people will lead to loss of the culture of those individuals. Therefore, language is linked to cultural heritage as it carries the collective knowledge, traditions, and values of a community or a culture. So it is in language that what culture stands for, what a particular culture is all about, is contained. Once the language is taken away, whatever a particular group of people stands for will eventually disappear. So language serves as a vehicle for preserving and transmitting cultural heritage from one generation to another. Through language, stories, myths, rituals, religious beliefs, cultural beliefs are transmitted from one generation to another. So it can be said that language is a repository of cultural expressions because it allows individuals to connect with their roots, preserve their heritage, and maintain a sense of cultural pride. As we're going to have in the subsequent lecture, we'll see that a language is existing along with culture. People usually will be identified by their language, mostly not by their country, especially in Nigeria. When people want to say, where are you from? You will first say, I'm Hausa, I'm Igbo, I'm Yoruba, before mentioning, before talking about being a Nigerian. So that means that the culture of the people resides in the language of the people. So for us to preserve our culture, for us to be able to move our culture from one generation to another generation, the language of the people who own that particular culture must be maintained and sustained. Another function, which is the last function we are going to mention in this lecture, is that language enables learning and knowledge acquisition. We can imagine how it will be if this presentation is not done using a language. What other means would have been effective in achieving that? So if anybody is going to learn anything, if anybody is going to acquire anything, that person will make use of a particular language. No language, no knowledge. No language, no learning. Language facilitates learning. Language facilitates acquisition of knowledge. No matter what form of knowledge is being acquired or learned, language is very, very important. One may want to study music, one may want to study mathematics, one may want to study any phenomenon. That will not be done in a vacuum. To make it real, to make it physical, language is very essential. It is through language that education takes place. It is through language that individuals are enabled to acquire new information, skills, and perspectives. No language, no possibility of achieving all that we have mentioned. So language allows teachers to instruct while students are able to comprehend complex issues, concepts through language. So language facilitates reading, writing, critical thinking. We will not think in a vacuum. We use language to think. And since language is necessary for all that you have mentioned, it is a door to intellectual growth and personal development. In fact, achieving some things, getting some jobs, being able to move to a higher class requires ability to speak a particular language. That's why language serves as a medium for the dissemination of knowledge, both formal and informal, enabling individuals to broaden their horizons, engage with different disciplines, and participate in the intellectual discourse of society. When we remove language, it means no more acquisition of knowledge, no more learning. The society will remain stagnant. So from what we have just discussed, we can see the importance of language to humanity. We can see the crucial roles that language plays when it comes to human interaction. So from the few things we have discussed pertaining to what language does for humanity, we are going to have some questions that are related to this topic, functions of language. I advise you go through those questions, provide answers to them. You answering them correctly will enable you to move to the next lecture, which is lecture 3. As usual, I appreciate the time you have spent watching the video. Thank you very much.